All right, next, we're going to see the trailer for The Raven, starring John Cusack.
Dear God. Get the inspector.
This crime is familiar to me. Edgar Allan Poe.
To what may I attribute the honor of your call?
The night before last, a young girl and her mother were found murdered. The daughter's body was lodged in a chimney. The mother's head severed with a straight razor.
You're referring to one of my stories, a work of fiction.
I'm afraid I am not.
Do you actually think that I murdered these people?
What cannot be disputed is that your imagination is the inspiration of a horrendous crime.
I love you, Edgar. Be careful.
I believe the killer is taunting us. I challenge the brilliant detective mind of Edgar Allan Poe, a game of wits. If I will kill again, and on that new corpse I will leave clues. As unfortunate as this is, you may be uniquely qualified to cast light on our killer. The Pit and the Pendulum. Are there other stories in the collection? Specifically about murder?
I'm afraid so.
This killer is methodical. He wants us to know he's gonna strike again. Stop! I dare you to try to save your beloved's life.
Where is she?
He will keep her alive to keep you involved. It's part of his game. Emily.
I would gladly give my life for hers.
I know you would.
I'll send you to hell! No matter how this ends, I will kill him.
That was John Cusack in The Raven, fictionalized account of a certain section of Edgar Allan Poe's life, which a lot of mystery actually surrounding the man. I mean, besides being an eccentric and marrying cousins and things like that, and being a horror writer, I mean, it's kind of sad for me to see something like this, because I'm more of a fan of Poe's detective stories, and his essays, his philosophical essays are brilliant. And the way he uses language is brilliant. And the dark stuff is actually very, very small. Like, I have the complete works of Edgar Allan Poe at home. And it's a very small section of his life. And they kind of actually address this in the movie from what I've seen, like of little clips and things like that. Like, they acknowledge that Poe's like, that's not me anymore. And that's something he has to face down in the movie, which is kind of interesting. But the rest of Cusack's portrayal, I mean, I don't know how you feel, but I mean, like, talk about phoned in. I'm like, is there any research going into this? I mean, where did he go to study his Baltimore accent, first off?
Yeah, well, I was watching this movie, I mean, not movie, but this trailer. I felt like they were definitely portraying Poe as, like, the first goth or something like that.
Yeah,
like
which
he's some weird
just
dark...
ignore Mary Shelley, Bram Stoker, all that stuff. Like, But, I mean, he was out there. I mean, Telltale Heart, The Raven, like, they are staples and things like that. But, I mean, I was always more flipped out by, like, more than The Pit and the Pendulum. Cask of Amontillado freaked me out more because you were seeing it from the killer's standpoint, same thing with Telltale Heart.
Yeah. Well, but I know you had something you wanted to say about the writers, so...
just with in general, like, I mean, to try to fictionalize an account. Now, I've enjoyed movies like this before where they use fiction to tell the life story of someone. Like, one of my favorite movies of all time is probably Lust for Life. You got Kirk Douglas. Is it Kirk's the father? Yeah.
Kirk, yeah. Michael's the son.
Yeah, Kirk. All right. Kirk Douglas playing Vincent Van Gogh. Phenomenal performance. And most of it's fictionalized to get to major points in his life. And that's okay because it's stuff that we know happened.
Right.
This is more of about a mystery surrounding Poe, and they inject a lot of fiction in order to tell the story. This is kind of going in the same vein as, like, you got Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter.
Right.
It's almost pushing it to that level where it's just getting a little too ridiculous.
But the great thing about Abraham Lincoln Vampire, it was a book, but it's clearly, like, they know that they're not trying to make it real. Where watching the trailer for The Raven, it's almost like they're trying to say this is Poe's real life. Like, they're not any way, like, saying that.
Yeah, and it comes off kind of like the Sherlock Holmes movies that we've just seen. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting from Cusack's portrayal, the tone of the movie, was that it's going to be like this action adventure with a little bit of genius thrown in.
Right.
And that's, so I mean...
Well, at least though Sherlock Holmes is a clearly fictional tale.
Yeah, and I mean, and
versus Edgar Allan Poe is a real person.
and not only that, but he had a rogues gallery. Like he had people that he came up against, chiefly Moriarty, and he comes back to that guy over and over again. We're going into a mystery, and not only that, I'm kind of curious to see which of the Poe stories we're going to be. I mean, we see Pit and the Pendulum in here.
Yeah.
They make reference to a couple of other ones really briefly. I mean, if you know what you're listening for, it's really good. But I mean, it seems loosely tied together.
Right. And just to finish up, James McTeague, I think I'm saying his name right, is the director, and he's done things like V for Vendetta, which I enjoyed, and he's been second unit on a lot of Wachowski movies.
Okay.
So I think he's a pretty good director, but why is he directing this? I don't know, because it doesn't seem like his forte.
When you mentioned V for Vendetta, you can kind of see the similarities in film style and everything.
I know, I see the style, but I'm just saying the story just seems like something he wouldn't do.
At the same time, you got, I don't want to get too far into it, but it seems like it's kind of in that same section of where people toss this to the gutter because of the horror aspect and everything like that. Why don't you go ahead and give your rating first, and I'll come back and so on.
I'm going to give it a wait for DVD. I just don't think it's going to be, I think it'll be something I'll be looking forward to watch when it comes out on DVD or Netflix, but nothing I want to go to the theater to see.
I'm gonna actually. I think we're in agreement on this one.
Wow.
That is the first time this has happened.
I'll say this though: when the trailer first came out 6 months ago, last year, I was all like, "Yeah," and then I started watching the trailer more and more and more, and starting to see these TV spots where I'm like, "No."
Yeah. I'm gonna give it the same. Wait for DVD. The idea in concept did intrigue me, same as it did for Carl, but in reality, we're talking about again fictionalized events being brought into Edgar Allan Poe's life and trying to explain something that happened to him using these fictionalized events. And it doesn't really draw my attention. It looks slow and it looks like loosely crafted. So I'm just going to wait for DVD.
Yeah. So we'll be back right after this at Shamet Movies.